Okay. So good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming out to night 4 or day 4 of Zoom University. Again, I am Sharice Martin. I am not Miranda Evans. I'm going to say that every night. Your education lead. Tonight's topic is Excel. So it's an Excel tutorial, a very high level overview of Excel. We're not going to get into the details of like formulas and everything like that, but I will kind of just touch on like some functionalities of Excel, just go over the basics of Excel. And then I'll go through this worksheet that I have, this like shortcuts worksheet that I created. As I mentioned yesterday, if you do need some assistance with Excel, I'm pretty good in Excel. You can reach out to me separately and we can work on something. I do have some trainings created because I have done a few Excel trainings, and that's something that I'm definitely looking to get into even more here over like very shortly. So if you do need some additional Excel training, definitely feel free to reach out to me and we can work something out. So I'll begin by saying Excel is up for those of you, I'm just gonna give it to you as if you've never even heard of Excel. Excel is a Microsoft Office program that is used for various functions, right? So very heavily used in corporate America, but you can use it in any area of your life. It's super important if you have this skill set under your belt. It definitely makes you very much, it puts you just higher up on the totem pole whenever you're applying for a position, regardless as to what that position is. It's just from entry-level positions to executive level positions, and everything in between. Excel is going to be important for you. So it's very important that you start learning that now. And if you can learn it now while you're in high school, that's even better. But I do know that there are some people who are into their careers and are just now getting real exposure to Excel. And it just would be much more beneficial for you to be exposed to that sooner than later. I personally love Excel. I use Excel for everything. I create my own personal budgets in Excel. Anything that I possibly can create in Excel, I'm going to try to create it in Excel first. So some of the uses of Excel is, of course, like time tracking. You can create calendars in Excel. Like I said, you can create budgets in Excel. I believe I sent out like a really basic like expense tracker or the beginning stages of a budget from Monday's money management topic. Of course, I created that in Excel. You can create flyers in Excel if you wanted to. The best benefit of Excel when you're thinking about, can I use this in Excel, is pretty much any data manipulation that you want to do. So if you're storing large volumes of data, so if you're keeping track of like your employees, so you're an entrepreneur, so you create this ambitious goal to say, okay, I'm going to own my own business and I'm going to have 50 employees. Well, you want to, if you're doing like small business type ordeal tracking and you're not in a system like QuickBooks or anything like that, you can track your employees, their time. You can, just any large amount of data or any amount of data, tracking that in Excel is going to be your best bet. Of course, you can create formulas, pre-populated formulas where you just have to fill in certain data, and then those formulas will populate whatever output it is that you want. Pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, concatenate, like all of these different formulas you can use to just make your life so much easier. And I literally use Excel every single day at both of my jobs. And it's just an amazing tool. And I really should be a sponsor or some sort of advocate for freaking Excel, Microsoft Excel, because I'm just gonna push Excel on everybody as much as I possibly can because I love it. So I think I will go ahead and before I start, any questions that you have, if you have any experience with Excel at this point, are there any particular questions that you may have before I begin? From anyone? Okay, I think that's enough. So I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good stuff. You can all see Excel, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. So let's kind of start with some verbiage for Excel. So the entire application. So if I click down here on this application, the entire thing is a workbook. So it's your Excel workbook. Within your workbook, you have different worksheets. As you can see, they're automatically pre-named sheet 1, sheet 2. If I add a sheet, that's going to be sheet 3. These sheets, you can also call them worksheets. They can be called tabs. That's pretty much it. So within your total, your entire document is a workbook, and then each individual tab is a worksheet or a tab. When anybody refers to a ribbon, they're referring to this up top. Within your ribbon, or within each different tab up top within an individual worksheet. And the worksheets, the ribbon is not worksheet specific. So the ribbon is across every worksheet. So if I change my wording to red, and then I go to a new worksheet, it's still going to write, it will still write red. I will still be able to change that to red. So it's not sheet specific. Whatever you change in your ribbon is going to change across all of your sheets. So here's your ribbon, and then within your ribbon, there are different tabs. And then within these tabs, there are different functions of the ribbon. So each tab has a different function within their ribbon. But this entire thing here is considered your ribbon. So right now, as I select different tabs, and as I select a different cell, my ribbon stays here. But if I press that and like press the little arrow there, I'm sorry if you didn't get to see that. So here, there's a little arrow. If you select it, now my ribbon's gone and I can't see it anymore. However, if I click here and then I click off, my ribbon is gone again. If I click into review and click off, my ribbon is gone again. However, you can, what is it called? Pin it, you pin your ribbon. And as you can see, when I hovered over that, it's called the ribbon. So you collapse or pin your ribbon, and then that keeps your ribbon there. So whenever you click off, you can still see each individual function of your ribbon. You know, that way, you know, you can just reference it at all times if you're clicked on that particular tab within the ribbon. So if you're on insert, all of your functions under insert on the insert ribbon will show. And then you have page layout, formulas, data, review, view, and Acrobat, which honestly I don't use very often. I really think this is more like an add-in. If like you, so within Excel, you can have different add-ins. There can be like, it can be a macro function add-in, which is super complex, which I'm not going to get into because I barely understand that part of Excel myself. But it can, I'm not even going to get excited. Excel can just be so functional because, like I said, there are different add-ins that you can have. So for instance, I work in accounting. And so I work with a lot of accounting software. Within Excel, I can have an add-in. Let's use SAP, for example. SAP is an accounting software. I can have an SAP by design add-in within Excel that will sync Excel and that software. Why is that helpful? Because any reports that I download that I need from that software, I can in real time upload them or like refresh them. And then I don't have to go into the software, re-download, like rerun the report, download them again to Excel, because all of the functionalities within software are not always as good as the functionalities within Excel. A lot of times, reports that you can run from software are just easier to manipulate in Excel, which again, is why I love Excel so much. And that is another functionality of Excel that I did not mention, is that it works cross-function with different softwares as well, with like Adobe. And so you can transfer like a PDF and export it to a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And then that information you can now manipulate, because you can sort or filter information in a PDF like you can in Excel. And we'll get to those things a little later. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit. I'm sorry. So I had done something that I wanted to mention. So here you have file, which will take you to your options of being able to save, protect your workbook, which you can add a password or some sort of encryption on it that will allow only you or whomever has that information, that encryption information, to get into the workbook. Here you can also, they're just different functionalities. I don't always use all of them, but definitely you can go into Excel and explore the different options here. And then if you click here on options, you can change, you can manipulate Excel to be more personalized for you. So I'm going to show you some shortcuts, but you can actually change your shortcuts. So just a really quick example, Control C is copy, which makes sense, right? Copy starts with C. You can change that formula to make Control G be your copy. So again, Excel is it's so complex and it's so functional. You can really manipulate it and personalize it to fit what you want. But then I did want to mention under here, there's that add-ins function that I talked about. And again, it's a little more complex, but it's super helpful. So, okay, getting out of that, but then again, that's where you can save your document. Later on, I'm going to speak to save as, because I think this is another important function to know, but it's not just Excel specific, it's actually cross-functional across all Microsoft products. And when I say Microsoft products, Microsoft software, I mean Word, PowerPoint, Office. I think Outlook is a part of Microsoft. Yes, Outlook, which is like your email. It's another email. You have Access. And then there are a few other like Microsoft softwares that I don't use very often and I don't know a whole lot about. But again, of course, at the end, I'll give others on here a chance to speak to that, if they want to give a little more insight. And then you can also save it as an Adobe PDF, which again, I said, Excel is cross-functional with Adobe. So you can save something as an Adobe, like you can create it in Excel and then save it as a PDF. And within a PDF, unless the person has permission to, the great thing about PDF is that you can't manipulate that document unless you have the permissions to manipulate that document and you have that actual version of Adobe. And like I already mentioned, you can transfer or export a PDF into an Excel file, which is much easier to manipulate. You can print from here, you can share it, so you can send this document to someone via email. Export a specific worksheet within your workbook and just other functions, right? So this is where all of your other functions are, right under File. So moving forward, these individuals, I'll call them rectangles because they're not really squares. These individual rectangles are called cells. here where you have your numbers, these are columns. And then over here to your left, you have numbers, and these are your rows. So as you can see, if I click the number, it's going to highlight the entire row. If I select the letter, it's going to select the entire column. But if I select this one cell, it's going to select that one cell. Now, I'm clicked in this cell. I'm going to bold it so you know exactly where I'm at. So that cell that's bolded, I'm going to change the color, the yellow cell. If you look here in this top corner, it's going to tell you what is the location of that cell. So it's kind of like your different coordinates. It's going to give you a letter and a number. So it's column C, row 3, to tell you exactly where that cell is located. And the reason why that's important is for your formulas. Whenever you're creating and putting together a formula, you're going to have to identify what particular cells you're referencing in that formula, and that's how you identify those cells. Yes, so that's that. Again, you can personalize Excel. So here at this helpful hint, I put the ribbon is at the very top row, usually green, with file, home, insert, etc. in there. However, you can change this. You can change this. I believe I changed these, like the symbols here. You have different options, so it doesn't have to be green. These symbols don't have to be here. It can be different symbols. So again, you can personalize Excel for whatever it is that you want. So there's so many different functions within Excel that you can use. In each tab, their ribbon has different functionalities. So your home ribbon is really going to be your formatting ribbon. So here you can change the color of your cell. You can change the color of the text in the cell. You can change the alignment of the text within the cell. So I'm going to click on here where it says Excel training. Right now it's left aligned. I can change it to be centered, or I can change it to be right aligned. And I can change the color. And again, if I come over here to another tab, that same is going to, the font color is going to be red. So if I wanted to change that, I can't say, okay, if I click into another cell or into another worksheet, the font is going to change. Now I have to actually go up here and change the font color. And so of course you can change your font color and you can change your cell color. I guess I'll specifically point out, like, conditional formatting is super helpful if you have a lot of data and you want to make sure you haven't replicated data accidentally. Conditional formatting is really helpful. And then here's some additional formatting that kind of, it's like they're kind of giving you suggestions. Okay, red is bad, green is good, yellow is neutral, but that's just how you're formatting that particular cell or particular cells, because if I select multiple, it's going to change multiple. So let's go back to that, what I just did there. So in order to select multiple cells at one time, you can literally, using your mouse or your keyboard, I'm sorry, no, not your keyboard, you have to use your mouse. You would select that cell, keep your right, your left, the left side of your mouse, keep that held down, and then literally just pull down or pull over to the right. Or if you're somewhere else, you can pull over to the left, pull over to the right, pull down, and it's going to select all of those cells that you're hovering over. So let's go to my helpful hints while we're still on the home tab, which doesn't matter, right? If I select any of these other tabs, this information is still going to stay here. But let's just go to our helpful hints. So helpful hint number 2, I guess, says this is a text box. And helpful hint here says this is a group of cells merged and centered with a border added. So what does that mean? What is the main difference between me specifying a text box and then a group of merged cells that's centered with a border around it? The biggest difference there is they look exactly the same. The biggest difference here is I can easily move my text box. While I can move this data as well, I'm actually moving all the cells. I'm not just moving the text box. The text box is now independent of the cells behind it. It's actually sitting on top of the cells. But if I move this group of cells, I'm actually moving. If I move the group of merged cells, I'm actually moving the cells. So if I had wording here and I move this group of merged cells over this wording, I can't do that because there's a word there. But I can move my text box over that word. And it doesn't affect it, it's still there because the text box is not a part of the cells. It's literally an insert. I will have to go under insert to insert a text box. So that's the main difference there. But, you know, depending on whatever you're trying to convey, whatever information you're trying to convey, you just have to decide which one works best for you in that particular situation. So before we go here to these shortcuts, let's kind of go back up into our ribbon and go to the different tabs. Within the ribbon, under insert, so this is literally your insert option. You can insert a pivot table, which is again one of my favorites. It's really basic, but it's again one of my favorites. It's so useful. Pictures, you can insert a picture either like from, I know you can insert a picture from the web. Oh, that's online pictures there, but here you can insert pictures from your desktop, excuse me, that you have saved, or you can insert pictures from the web. Shapes. I've actually never ever used this function, browse the Office store, but I'm assuming that's just where you can use, browse different Microsoft software options. Here is where and as you can see, these are also labeled. So here you have illustrations, here it says add-ins, here it says charts. So here's where you would have your charts, you have your bar chart, you know, line graph, all of those different types of charts. Spark lines, filters, hyperlinks, where you can actually link like a document to this word. So let's say this was an invoice. I could actually link the actual invoice to this word, and when you click it, it will go to the actual document, but you would have to have permission to wherever the document is saved. You have to have permission to enter wherever the document is saved. And then of course you have like your text box, your header and footer, which header and footer is not heavily used in Excel, but of course more used in like Microsoft Word. Then you have your word art and you have your symbols, your equations, all that other good stuff. Page layout is of course where you would actually format the way that this looks. And this is, again, I think that this is more of a experience function because most people don't change the layout of their Excel worksheet. Then you have formulas, which I think if you're just getting started with Excel and you're truly learning Excel, this is a super good function for you. So this has really good functionality. Me personally, I kind of just, I just kind of learn as I go, different formulas and stuff, but this is actually super helpful, like different type of formulas that you can learn. So like within whatever position that you are in. So for me, I'm going to learn different formulas that work best for the work that I do, being in accounting, versus Natalie, who's an engineer. Even though they're both very math-based, she's going to use very different formulas that are they're different. The formulas that are going to be helpful for her are going to be very different than the formulas that are helpful for me. So this is actually a really good function, which there's no bad function in Excel that I should probably use more. So the data tab. Here is where Like you would create a filter, use your text to columns, which is a super duper cool function. Look into it if you don't know it. Flash fill, again, another great one. Data validation, which is used like if you have drop downs mainly. What if analysis, forecast sheet, group and ungrouping is literally just grouping cells together, and then you can hide them or you can expand them. And then guess what? You can ungroup them. Beautiful. Review, again, I think a function more used in like Word than Excel, but you have like spell check options in Excel as well. Then you have view, which I think out of here, one of the most important ones is your page break view. And this is going to be super helpful when you're trying to print an Excel document, which for me is the most difficult thing, is to print an Excel document and the outcome looked right, like the product looks right. So here, so it's already predetermined that this is page 1, page 2, and page 3, but you can always move this line. And now your page break is here. So all of this is page 1, or I can move it the other way. And now just this portion is page 1 and this portion is now page 2. But I'm not going to print this document, so it doesn't really matter for me. And then you can go back to normal and it'll look back like this. But if you leave it at page break view, and then you start going to other tabs within your ribbon, it's going to stay in page break view. You have to go back to view and go back to normal. New window is a super great function. So when I pressed new window, it literally created another document that's exactly the same as the one I already have open, but whatever I do in this one happens in the other one. So I just wrote my name in the second file and my name appeared here. So if in this file, I said hello, now I come back over here on page 2, hello is there. It's a super great function. The difference between that and, so what I did here is I clicked on a sheet, I right clicked and I select move or copy, and I'm going to create a new book and I'm going to create a copy of it because I want to create a copy of this worksheet and I'm going to make it now its own workbook. So if I do that, now I have another, that's not what I intended to do, a new workbook, but whatever I do in here does not replicate onto my original workbook because this is a copy, it's a completely different file. But if I had wording here already and I copied it, it would create in my new file. But whatever I do in my new file will not auto-populate in my old file. If I just create a copy. But if I use the new window function, that is literally replicating your file. It's not copying your file. It's literally replicating, creating 2 copies of your current file, where whatever you do in one happens in the other. Okay, I spent a lot of time on that. You have freeze panes, which I still have to play with, like, to get them right. But if you freeze and you scroll over, it'll leave that first cell, that first column frozen. And then whatever cells above frozen as well. So if I had wording there, like say I had a header there, like invoice number, invoice date, invoice amount, and I had a lot of data that went down, but I still wanted to make sure I was aligning my headings correctly, then this is when free space will come in really super helpful. And then again, this Acrobat, I really think this is an add-in, and it allows me to like create a PDF from this file through this add-in. And that's because this Excel, I'm on my work computer, so it's a better version of Excel. All right, so now we'll go down to some shortcuts. So when I interned in New York in 2013, I did a 2-week like extensive course in Excel. And after the first week, you couldn't use your mouse anymore. You could only use your keyboard. So like I couldn't use my mouse to right click and copy and then like paste. Like I barely even know how to use the copy and paste function with my mouse anymore. You can only use your keyboard for everything. So that's what this here is. These are keyboard functions, like keyboard shortcuts, which I mean is going to take the time that it takes you to format a file. Like if you have a huge amount of data, like to format it, I mean, it's going to reduce that time drastically by using shortcuts because you literally never have to lift your hands off the keyboard. So to enter your ribbon, so to enter up here, if you press Alt, you'll see these numbers and these letters come up. So if I press Alt and I see the letter H comes up and I press H, it's going to take me into that H, into the ribbon of my home tab. And then from there, these are all of these pre-populated functions that Excel has created for you as shortcuts. So if I wanted to format paint the row under, enter the ribbon. So if I wanted to change, enter the home tab in the ribbon, which is in A14. If I wanted to make that red, just like enter the ribbon is red, I've already pressed Alt, I've already pressed H, and I can just press FP. So now it's copied the formatting of that cell. And if I press the arrow down, it's gonna change, it's gonna paste the formatting of the cell above that I had copied to the cell under it. So it's a super neat function. It's super quick versus having to go here with my mouse and then come up here and click Format Painter and then come back down and press, and then it didn't even work. Format Paint and then press, oh, it's the same. I'm sorry, I'm retarded. Format Paint and then press the one up under it. It's just, and I'm already on my keyboard, like if I'm typing, like it just reduces the amount of time because I never have to lift my hands off my keyboard. The next one, highlight a row, shift spacebar is going to highlight the row, and then control spacebar. And the reason that happened is because, so when I selected control spacebar, it selected everything only because this cell is merged. So when it went to select the whole column up, it ran into a merge cell. So it's going to select everything that cell is merged with. But if I select over here where there are no merged cells and I do control spacebar, then it's just going to select the entire column. Another super helpful function is, so if I select my entire row and then I do control minus sign and I accidentally delete that row. So I just showed you one thing. I just showed you how to delete a row, right? So I do control minus and that deletes the row. And I'm like, crap, I didn't mean to do that. I can just press Control Z, I can undo it, and then my data is back. So there are a lot of different shortcuts within Excel that can just increase your production time, which is super helpful, of course, whenever you're working, if you have a lot of duties or, just whatever functions of your job, they're like super tedious, being able to reduce the amount of time that it takes you to manipulate a file is going to be super helpful for you. But then also, I might just be a little bit of a nerd. I just think Excel is fun. Another thing that is cross-functional across multiple Microsoft programs that's just not Excel specific. So right now I have, let me open up one and then put it on the screen so that I can see it. So right now I have Excel open. I'm sorry, Word open and I have Excel. The toggle function is AltTab. So I can AltTab and switch to my Excel without using my mouse, without having to go down here and say, oh, okay, where's my my internet browser. I can usually press Alt and Tab, and then I can toggle between whatever programs I have open. I can copy an object by pressing Control and then dragging it. So you have to get it in the perfect position and then press Control and drag it, and then you can duplicate a document or an object. And then there's just a lot of good shortcuts here that are listed here. I'll send this out to you all, and you all can, play with it. I won't go through each of them. It's a little difficult to kind of teach Excel this way. But yeah, again, there's a lot of super great useful functions in Excel. I mean, I'll just show you really quickly an example of like why you would use Excel. So here I have literally a payment from Walmart, and it's all of these line items. And so if I didn't know how to use Excel, like it didn't come like this when I downloaded it from the portal. It didn't come like this. It wasn't as legible and as easily to understand what it is, as easy to understand as it is now when I first got it, right? So I'm able to manipulate this information because there are literally $38 invoices being paid, but there are 86 line items. I don't want to have to go through here and figure out, okay, invoice 91. Okay, they're paying 904.68. No, I just took my information, I put it into a pivot table, and I can easily see that on invoice 91, they're paying $3,170. Just that simple. So that's just some of the really good functionalities of Excel. And like if you don't know how to use it, you're going to have a hard time manipulating mass data like this. So that was just a little quick example. And no, I haven't posted that payment yet for work, but I will eventually. So any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. Give me some feedback, guys. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
So let me ask you this for those of you who are still in high school, have you used Excel yet? Do you have an Excel course, or have you used Excel yet?
I used it like one time, like ninth grade year, when I was like, I had to take like a computer class.
Mm-hmm.
So I had used it. That was like it. We had to do like a test too on this. We had to do a test, see like what a ribbon at and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna use it in my business class.
Definitely, probably will. So this little shortcut will be helpful for you, and you can, look good and act like you know a little something before you all get started. Okay, so I know for me, and I know I just talked to somebody about this recently, I don't remember exactly who, I didn't have, we didn't learn Excel in school, and I didn't, in my computer science class in college, like we still did not learn Excel. I literally didn't learn until my internship. So if you can, get the Excel skill under like that tool under your belt, I mean, that'll be helpful. That'll be really helpful, and it'll just really give you a leg up, like in the market, like in the job market. I'm going to share again because there was one thing that I did want to show that I did not show. And that was another cross-functional skill or usage that you should know about. So when you go, like if I selected the little disc here, this will save my document, which I'm not going to do that. Do I have, no, I don't have my plugin. Because right now, you know, I've changed cells, I've added stuff, I've duplicated stuff, and I don't necessarily want it to save like this, right? But if I just press save, it will save like this. And then whatever modifications I made to this file, whether that's in Excel, PowerPoint, Word, whatever program you have open, if you save at that moment, it's gonna automatically save like that. Now, if I exit out of this file, it's gonna ask me, do I wanna save it? I can say don't save, or I can save it. But what if I wanted my original version and I wanted this version too? Now I have options. I could duplicate this screen, this worksheet, and then save this one and not save the original, but that's doing a lot of extra. The easiest way is to go to save as and then save it either to the same place that is saved or save it to a new place. And once you go to save as and you save it with a new file name, it's going to create a new file. So let's say, for instance, let's see if I have a template. It's not what I want. Okay, so let's say, well, I can use this one. Say I want to save this as September 2021, and I save it here. I don't want to overwrite my template because whenever I send this, I want it to be a blank slate, right? So I would save this in the same place and I would just change the name to September 2021. And so let's just say, okay, now the next month has come and I want to change it to October. Well, I'm still in my September 2021 tab file right now. But if I go to save as and I change the file name to October, let's give it a little time, it's a little slow. So now I'm in October, but my September file has been saved, and whatever September looked like, it still looks like that. So you would not believe how many people I work with completely underuse the save as option and overwrite their work because they don't use this, like change the name of their file before they save it. So that's just something to think about that I wanted to mention, and that applies across, like I said, Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, all of them. And a lot of those, the shortcuts that I included in here, those are cross-functional as well. So those same shortcuts work in like searching through a PDF, through your Outlook email, through your Word document, Control-C, Control-V, Control-Z, Control-D, Control-F, all of those shortcuts, they're the same across all of them unless you modify or personalize your Excel for Control-G to be copied. But the basic functions as they work across all Microsoft programs. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so any questions or comments?
I don't have no question or comment. I just got to say that, like, when I was like I mentioned, when I had took it, my grade year, we had learned about Microsoft Word. That's the one we had learned about. Ain't this like the same thing?
No, ma'am. I'm gonna show you Word. This is Word. This is Excel. what you can do in Excel, you cannot do in Word. But pretty much everything that I can do in Word, I can do in Excel. Like I can legit make this look like a Word document. Let's change it white. And like if I was to print this, like I was to start writing in here, right? And I write a whole essay, I could go to my review or my view, go to my page break, and only print that portion. And when I print it, it will look like I did it in Word. But creating the tables and using the formulas and stuff that I can use in Excel, I cannot do that in Word. Now I can create tables in Word, but the functions that I have in Excel are not the same as what I have in Word. So Excel you're going to use is a more formula-based software, and then Word, a Word document is for writing words, right? So writing essays, things of that nature. But don't let me misguide you. You can create different things in Word too. So let me go back. When you go to File here and you go to New, you can, if you click Business, you can create business plans, resumes, checklists, all kinds of stuff under. You can create cards, create flyers, create letters. Education is probably going to be like, I have no idea, but it looks like different education-based stuff, right? And the same goes for, guys, I am not sharing my screen, Emma. You have no idea what I'm talking about. So
yeah, I was like, what's she talking about? I couldn't see what she was saying.
I am so sorry. Okay. This is Microsoft Word. This is Excel. What I can do in Excel, I cannot necessarily do in Word. But like I said, I'll delete this. I can literally manipulate this worksheet to look like a Word document. So when I could write an essay in here, and then when I can change my page layout, my page break layout to only print that portion. So when I print it out, it will look like a Word document. And then what I was saying was, I mean, Word has a lot of good functions as well, though. So if you go to New, you can create all of those different things that I said, right? So budgets, resumes, business plans, all of that different things. There are a lot of different functions within Word that you can use. And there are so many functions within Excel that you can use as well. You have a lot of those same options, but 10 times more. As you can see, I like Excel better than I like any other Microsoft program. So they're not the same. They're both Microsoft programs, but they're not the same. The functions are not the same at all. Like I said, Excel is more of a formula-based program, while you would use Word mainly to like write a document or something like that.
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know though.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting me know the difference.
You're very welcome. And then you have like your Microsoft PowerPoint, you have Access, which I honestly don't really know what Access is used for, which I probably should, but I don't. And then Outlook is a part of Microsoft as well, I believe, and that's like your email output. So, any more questions or comments? Okay, if not, I hope this was useful. I know that I probably went a little fast, but I hope you got like a basic understanding of Excel and the, all of the beautiful benefits that Excel offers. It gets a lot more complex, like however complicated you want it to be or however simple you want it to be, Excel is everything in between. I mean, again, it can just be you can use it for very simple functions, or you can get very complicated with it. I mean, the formulas can be pretty ridiculous, but it can be super helpful. Again, for those of you who have been here multiple nights, as you can see, this is probably my favorite and least favorite because it's kind of hard to get everybody on board with what I'm saying, but it's my favorite because I just love Excel. That's why I'm using most of my time. And then, again, if anybody has questions or, wants some more detail or, some more review of Excel, you can always reach out to me. And I will send out that shortcut sheet that I was showing you all. I will send that out to you all tonight as well. But I hope this was helpful and that you got something out of it. So, okay. If nothing else, I'm gonna let you go because I held that pretty much the entire hour tonight talking about Excel. If no questions, you all have a good night. And thank you again for being here. Tomorrow night, we'll finish up with online etiquette and dress for success. It'll be a very small portion towards dress for success, but it'll mainly be about online etiquette. And then I will just mention again that the prices for coming all 5 nights, with the exception of yesterday, because I know a lot of you were at church, is Apple Watch and a Google Watch. Samsung Watch. There you go. So, all right, guys. Y'all have a good night. And I'll see y'all tomorrow at 6:30.
Okay. You too, though. You have a great night too.
Thank you guys so much.